Star Wars Hunters is releasing in just a couple of weeks now for Android, iOS and Nintendo Switch, which for a lot of people is absolutely fine, but for many others, there have been tons of complaints about this game being a mobile game and therefore it's bad, or that it should simply release on PlayStation, Xbox and PC as well. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about all of those things in today's video. But before I get into it, make sure you are subscribed to the channel with the notification bell turned on to never miss a piece of Star Wars Hunters content. But jumping straight into it, I just want to talk a little bit briefly about that comment I said about, oh, it's a mobile game so it must be bad. Honestly, it's amazing. It's probably the best mobile game I've ever played, and I'm not really much of a mobile gamer myself now, but I've been really impressed with Hunters, and obviously it's coming out on the Switch as well, so if you don't like playing mobile games too much, it will obviously be on the Switch as well, which if you own one will be absolutely perfect for you at that point. But another thing that is honestly worth noting is that the game does have controller support, so you can just hook up any controller via Bluetooth to your phone and play it that way, which at that point honestly just it makes you feel like you're playing it on a console, just obviously on a small screen. And it is free to play as well anyway, so when it does come out I'd recommend you trying anyway, even if you're not a massive mobile gamer. If you are a Star Wars fan, there is honestly a lot to enjoy about it, whether that's playing on the maps, of which are completely unique to anything like we saw in Battlefront for example, and contains maps already like Vandal for example, which was never in Battlefront but is in Hunters, so that's great. All of the Hunters are original cast as well, so it's not like you're playing as Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader for the 100th time, which for me personally is a great thing, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a video at some point in the next couple of weeks. So I would definitely recommend giving it a go. Even though it's not coming out on PC and other consoles, it's worth giving it a go. But that then does beg the question of, should it actually come out on these other platforms? Now for me personally, I would never say no to more platforms for this game. A lot of people obviously don't necessarily want to play games on their phone, and I do understand that, and they may not necessarily own a Nintendo Switch, so the game isn't necessarily going to be what they're looking for. So releasing it on PC, Xbox and PlayStation I think would be absolutely a good thing for the game, because I think it just means that that whole stigma around it being a mobile game would essentially have no more legs to it, and personally I don't think it should anyway, because it's just really good. But by releasing it on those other platforms, you are making the game accessible to even more people, which is just absolutely a good thing for the game. And with it being free to play releasing on those other platforms, I just think you get it front and center. So many people will just download it because it's a free Star Wars game. And with the art style being a little bit Fortnite-y, I think that could also be a really good thing, especially with a younger audience. If they see a big brand like Star Wars in an art style they've potentially been playing a lot of via Fortnite, then that could be a pretty big hook. In terms of the overall gameplay as well, like it absolutely would work on other platforms. Sure, the gameplay isn't necessarily super smooth and console-like, like something like Overwatch or more recently Marvel Rivals looks super fluid. It's not quite like that, but it does still play very well, and playing it with a PS5 controller on my phone has been so much fun. And that to me just shows how there is no reason why it shouldn't be on these platforms. Now another thing that I think is worth taking note of is even though the game will not be releasing natively on PC at launch, it will and already is playable on PC anyway via an emulator called BlueStacks, which I've been playing it on for a long time. So if you want to play the game with a mouse and keyboard, then you can absolutely do that. Obviously a native port of the game would be a lot nicer to have, but I think it's good to know that the option is already there should people need it. So to answer the question of should Star Wars Hunters come to PC, PlayStation and Xbox, I absolutely think it should, and I personally think there's no reason why it shouldn't. Obviously it's not happening at launch, which is absolutely fine, but I do believe that if the game is successful enough, and if enough people keep pushing for it, then I don't see why they absolutely would not look to push it onto PlayStation, Xbox and PC as well. Because if this game does well enough, honestly I could see it being around for such a long time. There are countless maps and character types from Star Wars that we could see added into this game, and with the amount of Star Wars shows that we're now actually getting and soon to be films again each year, there is essentially an endless supply of stuff that they could bring to this game, so I'm very excited to see what they come up with over the years to come. And whilst I do believe it should come to other platforms. I honestly don't think that there should be this stigma around it being a mobile game. You can play it on controller if you want to, so that is absolutely an option. You can play it on PC via the BlueStacks emulator as well if you really want to, but I do honestly urge you all to give it a go, especially if you're a Star Wars fan who's craving multiplayer and has done since Battlefront 2 ended. That is pretty much all I have to say on this matter. It absolutely should come to other consoles, but we will just have to wait and see if that happens. That is going to be it from me today though. Thank you all very much for watching, and may the force be with you always.